Welcome to the ICT videos 0417 Information and Communication Technology. I'm going to go through the points or the syllabus points for the exam 2020, 2021 and 2022. Make sure you have this sheet to review the points before you go into the exam. Now today I'm going to cover only website authoring section, which is section number 21 or chapter number 21 in your book. And the first point in this is 21.1 website development layers. Now you need to know that we've got a couple of layers. For example, if they ask you to identify and describe the 3 web development layers, you should know that we have the structure layer / content layer, and we have the presentation layer, and we have the behavior layer. Okay, these are the 3 layers used for designing or developing web pages. Now the question might ask you to mention the layers, the 3 layers, or might ask you a direct question on one of them. For example, they might ask you what we mean by a structure layer and what kind of elements you will find inside it. Now the structure layer language used is HTML language, hypertext markup language, and is normally used to insert content such as text, images, videos, audio, hyperlinks into your web page. Okay, so if they ask you to provide examples of the elements in this layer, these are the elements, or these are the things that you'll do in this specific layer using the HTML language. The same for the presentation layer. The presentation layer, we use a language called CSS, Cascading Style Sheet language, and we normally use this layer to present the web page in an attractive way by defining or formatting elements in terms of, let's say for example, the font size. We need different font sizes, the font color, the alignments of different paragraphs, the background color, and etc. Okay, and that's why we call it presentation layer, because we are focusing on formatting and how the content will look like inside the web page, so we can make it attractive and at the same time easy to follow. The last layer, which is the behavior layer, we are not covering how we do it in practice, in the practical, but you need to know that this layer is called the scripting layer. We use a scripting language such as JavaScript in this layer, and this layer focus on animation and transitions of the content of the page. For example, you might have some kind of let's say changing color, changing behavior, zooming in, zooming out whenever you are interfacing with the content of the page. Now the layers that you'll be doing in the practical are the first one and the second one. The third one, we just need to know that it exists. Okay. Point number 2, understand the function of the content layer. And at the definition, we mentioned the content layer is to enter the content and create the structure. Again, they are repeating. Presentation layer to display, as I said, the format within the page in terms of font size, let's say font colors, alignments, and different style that you can add to your page. The behavior layer is normally used to enter scripting language to the elements, or animation and transition, as I said before. Point number 21.2, which is how we create a web page. The candidate must know that they should use a software to create the content layer and the rest of the layers. And the softwares can be front page, can be, in my case, the web expression softwares, okay, or can be any other software that is suitable for designing web pages with. Okay. Anyways, whenever you are designing, you need to meet the need for the audience. Meaning, before you design, you should know to whom you are designing this web page. Are you designing it for kids? Are you designing it for adults? Are you putting extreme advanced informations? Are you putting let's say shallow informations? Before you start designing, you should know these kind of informations and research the audience. Why? Because researching or knowing the group that you are designing for will decide on many factors. One of them, if you are using it for kids, for example, the colors will be different than if you are using it for adults. The same for the amount of language or the language used, whether it's sophisticated language or simple language. The number of images or animations, for kids you will add more images, less text. For adults you will add more text and less images. And normally the kids, they prefer more animation and more transition. The adults, they prefer a clean web page. So at the conclusion, whenever you are designing, you need to know your audience, and to get more information of how to research the audience. An advantage of researching the audience, you can go back to chapter 9, okay, to get this specific point clear for you. Now, explaining the purpose of the head and body sections of a web page, and we all know that the websites are divided into head and body, okay, and in the head section we normally have information such as the styles used in a web page, meta information such as the universal text format used, the type of the file, and etc. Okay, these informations are normally put where? In the head section. And the head section is the section that normally the user will not be able to see, and it's important for the browser because the browser needs to look at the head section before displaying the information in the body section, because everything that you see in the web page will be in the body section. Okay, so for example, if I open my application, the Web Expression 4, and if I just create a quick HTML file, an empty file, you will find that if I go to the code, is divided into head section and body section. Anything you put in the body section will be displayed and shown to the user. The head section contains some information needed by the browser to know how to display the web page in the proper format. For example, if you are having any kind of style, let's say attached or defined, it will be put in the head section. The character or the universal text format font used, and the content itself of the files, all of these are put in what we call the meta section inside the head section. Now, the only straightforward information put in the head section that the user can see is the title of the page, because whenever you put the title, you will see the title in the browser. Okay. On the other hand, the body section contains all the data or all the information that you need the user to look at or to read or to browse. So the body section contains everything. The head section contains information needed by the browser to know how to display your web page. I think this is simple now. So head section, example of information stored in the head section are the styles, either attached styles or internal styles. Meta informations like the font used, the type of the file, and the title will be defined in head section. If you go for the body section, you will find that the body section contains all the contents needed to be viewed by let's say audience. Okay, all the contents will be put where? In the body sections. How the content will appear in the body sections will be defined in the head section in terms of styles used and meta information. Okay, simple. Now, if you go to the next point now, place appropriate elements in the head section of web page, including, now it's giving you an example of what information you might put or see in the web page head section, like the page title and the attached style sheet. So this points explains the points before it, the purpose of the head section. Yes, and they should add another point like place appropriate elements in the body sections. If they put such a questions, you would mention that the information put in the body sections are the text, images, videos, audios, hyperlinks, all those we call them information that we need the user to look at them. Okay. Yes, place appropriate elements in the body sections. We have the question. Information such as text, images, videos and audios, and hyperlinks for navigation and other stuff. These are the information placed where under the body section of the web page. Now the next question says explain why tables are used to structure elements within a web page. And this is a very important question because without having a table we will not be able to divide the whole page area into different cells with different widths and height. For example, if I have this page, instead of just putting the information randomly, I will first divide the whole page into table of a couple of rows and columns, and I will set even the width of the table. Now you will have everything or all the web page divided into sections, which makes it easier for you to put information in different sections. I can put an image here, I can put another image here, I can let's say merge the first cell by going to modify and merge and put a logo here. You get the point. So using tables makes it easier for you to divide the whole page into different sections or different cells with different widths and different heights. This is the answer of this question. We need it because it makes it easier for us to divide the page into different sections by defining different widths and height for different cells. Insert a table including the table header, table rows, and table data. And the table header we normally call it th. The table rows are nosed by tr, and the table data are nosed by the code td. Hence, if you have a table, you know that the table has a header, which is normally the first row in the table, has some rows, and inside those rows we have some table data, or we can call them table cells. Okay. For example, if we have this table, how many rows we have? First row, second row, third row, fourth row, fifth row, and the sixth row. And the columns, we have 1 column, 2 columns, 3 columns, and 4 columns. Now all these for now are called table data or TD, unless you need the first row to be the head where you put the title of the table. Okay, and normally the title of the table will have a different formatting than the rest of the table. In that case, you will go to this specific cell that I merged, if you remember, and right click on it and go into cell property and define it as a header cell. Now you are telling the browser that this cell might have a different format than the rest of the cells because this is a header cell. Can you see now, once I made it a header cell, the text automatically became center aligned and bold. From the code you can see the differences. If you look at it, you will find that this cell starts with less than th and closes with the tag for the closing th/th. The rest of the rows and the rest of the cells are all starting with td and ending with td, table data and table data. In the style later on we will find that we can define a different formatting for th and a different formatting for the TDs. Hence, the first row in the table will always look different than the rest of the table. Okay. Next, use appropriate table attributes. Include adjust the cells to span more than one rows or column. And we have done this one. When I started my table, I selected the first row, which is 4 cells. I right click, and then I go modify and I merge. Now I'm merging across columns. This cell will now cover all the 4 columns. This we call it a col span or a column span. If I go to the code, you will find that it says table data col span 4 columns and it's empty. You get it? So if we put a title there, then the title will appear. The same thing you can do it in terms of row. I can select these rows, right click, modify, and merge. Now I'm merging in terms of row, so we call it row span. If you go to the code, you'll find that now it says td row span into 4 rows. Yes, the other one was td col span into 4 columns. Simple so far? Next, you need to set other parameters in the table, such as identifying the table size, the cell sizes in terms of pixels values, um, in terms of the styles that will make the table suitable. How to change it? You can change the whole table width and height by right clicking and going to table properties. You can define the width from this area, and the width can be in percent or in pixels, or you can define the height. It can be in percent and in pixel as well. If you'd like to define a specific number of cell widths and height, you can select those cells, either one or more cells, right click on them and go into cell properties, and then you can specify the widths of those cells and height separately. Okay, so if the question says, or if the question gives you a different width and height for different cells, that means you need to go into each and every one of them and change the width and height by going into that cell or those cells properties. Next, use a software tool to appropriately place the content in a web page, and I mentioned that I'm using Web Expression for now. You can use another tool to add the content, which will be normally in this area, to your web page. The content will be in certain objects, for example text, still images, moving images, sound clips. Yes? Apply style to text within a web page. That means whenever you have a web page like this, for example, if I say hi there, I can apply style to this specific text. I can go in this area and say the style is a paragraph or heading 1. Let's select heading 1. You get it? This is applying different style to the text. Heading 2, paragraph. You get the point. Okay? So you can add contents and you can apply predefined style, and we call it predefined style because this style can be changed by you later. If you don't like the color, if you don't like the size, if you don't like the alignment of this text, you can later modify it in the style sheet. Okay, apply style to a list including ordered list and unordered list. Now if you put any text in any of the cells, you'll see that in this area up here you can specify that whether this is a list that's numbering, which we call it ordered list, or a bullet list in the practical. Now if you're applying a bullet list for a specific text, let's say for this one, you'll select that text and let's make it a numbered list, meaning I will just select this one where it says 1, 2, 3. As you can see now, I've done the first one. I'll just go backspace enter, go before HT, backspace enter. Now I have a list, however this list is called OL, meaning this is an ordered list. The same way you can set an let's say in an ordered list, as the question says, you can specify ordered or unordered list. That means you can select this one and change your mind and say I would like it to be a bullet list, and by bullet I mean it's not an ordered list. Once you do that, you'll find that the code for it changes into UL. If you go back again, it's an OL, ordered list. If you go back again, it's a UL. That means in the style later on you can define a different style for UL and another style for the OL. If you don't care and you have all the lists following the same order, whether all of them in the page are ordered or unordered, in the style later you can add it as LI. You can define it as LI. That means all lists in the page are ordered or all lists in the page are unordered list. Okay, so the list can be defined by either using LI code, UL, or OL. Next, insert an appropriate image into a web page, and inserting an image is very simple. You can just click on the image and drag it into a specific page. Once you do that, the image will appear in that specific text. If you go to the code, you will find that the code for that image has been done for you. Okay? That's why we prefer using these applications, because they are easier for us to use. You can just drag and drop and change, and the code will be done for you. Use appropriate image attributes, including changing its size, aspect ratio, if you'd like to do so. For example, if you put it here and you'll find that the image is too small for this cell, you can double click on the image, go into the appearance, and you will find that you can change the image width and height. Now, if aspect ratio is ticked, that means whenever you change the width, the height will change accordingly. If you untick the aspect ratio, that means whenever you change the width, the height stays the same. Ticking is always important, because if you would like to change the image dimension in terms of width and height and maintain the quality, not corrupting the image, that means aspect ratio should be always considered or tick. For example, if I change this one to 400, you will find that the height changes with me to 294 at the same time. That means the ratio of the change will be the same, so that the image quality will not be distorted. Okay? Other information that you need to know is that you might need to add some alternative text in case the browser of the user could not display the image. So the user will know what's missing. For example, if you go into General, you will find that I will write home image. So if something happens or the user browser could not display this home or this image, this text will be displayed instead. That's why we call it an alternative text. Okay? Next, creating a web page continued. Use software tools to create navigations, and normally by navigation we mean hyperlink, because your website most of the time will be more than one page, and you need the user to jump between pages by just clicking on a specific element in the page. That's why for navigation we normally use hyperlink. And hyperlink are divided into more than one type. First one is a page hyperlink. Whenever you click on a text or an image, it will take you into another page. It's an email hyperlink. Whenever you click on a text or an image, it will allow you to open your email account and send an email to a specific address with a specific subject. An anchor hyperlink, or we call it bookmark, and this is a special hyperlink where you can specify or pinpoint some location in the same page. So whenever you click on a text or image, it will take you to that specific pinned or selected location. So it takes you to a location in the same page. This question describes it even more. Describe the concept of a bookmark or an anchor, yes, and the method of creating bookmark. Normally you need to know that to create a bookmark, you will click on the specific area that you need the bookmark to appear. You will go insert and you will select bookmark in my case. If you are using front page, you will find anchor. Anyways, I click on that cell, insert, bookmark, and I would say I'll call this top, since this one is in the top of the page. Once I do that, this location will be pinned for me. And as you can see, nothing here is displayed. The bookmark or the anchor is always hidden from the user, because you don't want to confuse the user by showing the user that there is something here called top. It's only used for easy navigation, so that the user later on can come to this area in a quick way. That's why in the next question it says, describe the function of an anchor and why it's rarely used from the browser view. The anchor is a bookmark that pins a specific location in the page, so the user can jump to that page when the user is clicking on a text or an image in a different location in the same page. And it should not be seen, because it's meant to be used for navigation aid only. The second question identifies the terms relative file path and absolute file path. Now, if you look at these two, relative file path and absolute file path, you would know that it's very important to know that we always try to avoid absolute file path whenever we are doing a hyperlink or we are saving any web objects like images inside our link. The question is why? Because if you are using an absolute file path, anything that you link will be, in terms of absolute, will be related to the storage device or a location inside your computer. For example, if you are linking an image into your web page, you will find the full path has been used. Let me give you an example. If you open the page without saving it, if I drag this image here and I say put it here, and if I go and look at the code of this image, you will find that the source of the image is the full computer path. The image is in my C drive, in a user called Muhannad, in Google Drive, in a folder called IGCSA, in another folder called Complete Past Papers, in another folder called Practical, in a year called 2016, May, June, in another. You get the point. If you are using absolute file path, you get the full path, and the path will be based on your storage device or your computer. And we try to avoid this kind of linking, because you need to link based on your current folder only or the website folder only. And that's the definition of relative file path. Relative file path is unlike absolute file path, where you don't link based on the computer, you will link based on your working folder, or we call it your site. Okay? Why we do that? Because when we upload or publish the web page, if we are linking using absolute file path like this one based on the computer, the content will not be able to be displayed. The link will be broken, because your server or your internet service provider or your domain provider will not have the same computer as me, will not have a user called Muhannad in their computer, will not have a folder called Google Drive. These are my folders and my computer. So you should not link based on your computer. You should always avoid linking based on absolute link. Now let me show you the difference now if I would like to link this image using a relative linking method. The first thing I need to know is to make sure that this page is saved in my folder. So I just go save and name it home page. Now home page is part of my folder. That means now anything that I link will be linked based on the folder. So if I take this image again and I put it and I go to the code, you will find that the source is now only the image name, since this image resides inside the folder directly. This way of linking, we call it a relative linking. It means you link the content or the hyperlink or the images based on your working folder or website folder. That means whenever you take this folder and you upload it or publish it into the domain and make it online, all the link will still function, because all the files are still in this uploaded folder and they are not based on your computer or users. Simple. That's why it's saying that explain why absolute file path must not be used for hyperlink to locally saved web pages or objects. So your answer will be, you guessed it, to make sure the links are not broken. You get it? All the time you use relative file path. You never use absolute file path whenever you are actually doing hyperlinks or saving objects into your web page. Use an object's ID to create a bookmark, meaning create an anchor. And we have done it. We mentioned that you can click on a specific location and you can go insert, select bookmark on anchor, and name it. And as you can see, this is the previous anchor that we named, top. And then you can link it to a specific text. So I can go down there and just say click here to go to the top. If I select this part of the text, click here, right click, hyperlink, I can set this hyperlink as a place in this document, and the place is top. So whenever I click on this hyperlink or this text, it will take me to the anchor at the top of the page with the name top. Let's test it. I'll just go here now. Let's test it by showing it on the browser. I'll just display my page in the browser better. As you can see, this is your page. Let me make it a little bit bigger. So if I'm browsing down in my page, scrolling down, whenever I click here, it will take me to the top. You click, you go to the top. So it's just a navigation aid, and as you can see, the anchor is not visible on the page. Simple so far. Hence, creating a hyperlink from a text, we just done it. You can create a hyperlink from the image the same way we did it from the text. You right click on the image, you go into hyperlink. You can create a hyperlink that can go to a specific bookmark or anchor, or you can make this image take you to another address, let's say homepage.htm, and you can, and this we call it a relative page, by the way, since it ends with htm. That means this page is my page somewhere here, should be in your folder or should be created later. If you would like to take a hyperlink to another page or another website, absolute hyperlink, you can call this one home.com or home.net or home.org. That means you are going into another website. You get the point. Anyways, you can create the page, and you can even set whether when I double click on this image, the new page that I'm going to will open in the same window, means the target frame will be self, or in a new window means the target frame will be underscore blank or underscore anything but self. I can even call it home. Okay, so if this one is underscore self, it will open in the same page. If this is underscore anything but self, it will open in a new window. It's up to you or the question. The same way I can create an email from this image. I can go to hyperlink and set email, set the email address, let's say to muhannad.mustafa@gmail.com with the subject, you are the best teacher. You get the point. So whenever you click on this image, it will allow you to send an email to this specific email address with that subject. Next, create a hyperlink where appropriate to bookmark on the same page. You have done it. Other locally stored pages, pay attention, means end with the HTML extension. Pay attention. Example contacts.htm. These means other locally stored web pages. A website using the URL example home.com, and this we'll call it absolute page, means you are going to another website since it does not end with HTML. Okay, send a mail to a specific email address. We have done it. Open in a specific location, same window. Same window means the target frame will be underscore self. A new window, the target frame will be underscore anything but self, but normally the standard one is blank, with a window name as specified, meaning the blank one, underscore blank, yes, or black or home or whatever. So this one will be blank, a specific name, underscore home or underscore contacts, it doesn't matter. Anything but self will open in a new window. Okay, Point 21.3 using style sheet. You should know how to do the presentation layer, and you should know that there is a term called cascading style sheet, which is the language used if they ask you to define it, which is the language used to define some element formatting, such as font size, font color, font backgrounds. Yes, and we call it style sheet because the browser will be reading it in a cascading order. Okay, we call it cascading style sheet. The browser will be reading it in a cascading order from top to bottom. Okay, explain the difference between attached style sheets and inline style sheet. Now, attached style sheet, that means the style sheet are defined in a separate page. Okay, style sheet are defined in a separate page, and then only the link will be will exist in your head section. For example, if I go here, if I have a file with a style sheet, let's have a quick file with a style sheet. Let's save it and name it style.css. Can you see now? Now I can just attach it, and when I attach it, since it's a different file, when I attach it to the page, if you go to the code, you will find that you will have the link in the head section. Can you see this is the head section, and this is the link of the style sheet. Now this is what we call an external style sheet, an attached style sheet. You don't have the full styles, you have the link to the file that contain your styles. Okay, if it's an internal or inline style sheet, معناها the styles are defined in a page header. Okay, in details, all the styles will be defined in the page header. For example, if you have a page that you would like to attach the style sheet, you just add the style sheet in this way. H1, let's say, the font family Arial, comma, let's say sans serif. Now I've defined that any heading 1 in my content will be displayed as Arial or a sans serif if Arial not existed. Anyway, this style is fully defined in this page. That's why we call it an inline or internal style. Okay, now we've got an advantage of having the style attached to the page and not defined inside the page like this one, because if you have a style sheet in a separate file, that means if you have a website of more than one page, you can attach this style sheet to all of the pages using one step only by dragging the style sheet and put it there. The advantage of doing so is that you will define the styles only one, so you will have only one file, and then you can attach it to many pages. The other advantage is that if you add or modify any of the styles, all the pages attached to that style sheet will take effect. The modification with those pages will take effect. Yes? The disadvantage of having this external style sheet is that it takes time for you to define the styles in a separate file and then attach it to your web page. So it's more complicated than doing them in the head section of each and every page. On the other hand, if you don't have attached styles and you let's say decided to do the styles in each and every page head section, the advantage is simplicity. You won't have a separate style. Each and every page will have the style defined in its head section, as you can see here. But the disadvantage is that if you have a website of more than one page, it will be a headache for you to repeat or redo the style in each and every page. If you are changing something, you will have to go and do it in each and every page head section separately, because each and every page has a different style or its own copy of the style. So it will take time if you are having a more than one page website. Okay, so if I can let's say phrase this question, if they ask you where we prefer we prefer to use external style sheet, you would mention that external style sheet will be used on websites that contain more contains lots of pages. On the other hand, where we would prefer internal style sheet, you guessed it, internal style sheet will be preferred in website on website that contain a few pages, okay, for simplicity. Next, explain the hierarchy of multiple attached style sheet and inline styles within a web page. The hierarchy is that if you are attaching more than one style sheet to the page, the last one attached will always override the previous styles but not replace them. You get the point. The same happens for the inline style sheet. Explain the difference between a style and a class. A style, and this is very important, a style will be applied to all, let's say, the page. A class will be applied only if it's being called to a specific line of code. Meaning, if you set a style for h1, all h1 will have that style, let's say, applied to them. However, if you put it as a class, that means before the h1 you will add a dot, it will become .h1. Now, if you put it like this, you need to call it, you need to put it in the text so that it takes effect. So the classes are there for you to call them. The normal styles are there to be automatically applied. Okay, that's the difference between a normal style and a class of style. Create generic external style sheet and inline style, including background properties, font properties, table properties, background color. All these we have done them in the practical, and you can do them easily by just going to your style sheet, and on the right side, if you are using Microsoft Web Expression, you can set new style and you can set the style name, for example, for the table, and you will find all the needed options that you can add to those styles. Once you click OK, you will find that the styles are cascading under each other. Okay, so this part is mainly a practical part. Create external style sheet to be tagged in web pages, including h1, h2, h3, pli as required, and these are normally the style that we can do in a separate page style sheet, and then we can attach this style sheet to any of our pages if we have more than one page there. Okay, the missing one here is the body style and the table. Okay, these we normally use them: headings, paragraph, list, yes, body and table. Specify the font appearance for each style. You can actually select the font family. If you are doing h1, you can select the font family, size, color, alignment, bold and italic. Save style in a cascading style format means you save the file with the extension CSS, so style.css. That means it's a cascading format. Attach an external style to a web page using a relative file path. If the style sheet, you have it in your page and you have the content, whenever you drag that file and put it, you will find that it's automatically attached. You get the point. You have the page, you drag it. If you go to the code, you will find that you have the link of that style sheet, yes, or the link of this file now attached to the page. Whatever in this file will be applied to your web page. Okay, attach comment to an external style sheet. If you have a style sheet like this one and you would like to add your name in a comment, the format is /* and end with */. Anything in between will be comments only. That means will not be read by the browser, will not be considered a style. Yes, this is a format that you should know. You should memorize it. You can have a format of a commenting for the HTML pages as well. So if I go to my page and I would like to add a comment at the end of the page indicating that I am the one who designed this page, the format is different. It will be !, 2 dashes, and end with a dash and a greater than. Anything in between, as you can see now the color is green, anything in between will be set as a comment, means will not be displayed as you can see by the browser. You don't have it here. Okay, the text you inserted, you will not find it in the browser will treat it as a comment. So the comment way of doing in the HTML is different than how you do it in the style sheet. In the style sheet you do it by /*, and in the HTML page you do it by !, 2 dashes, and end with 1 dash and then a greater than. Okay. The last section is testing and publishing a website, and they will ask you how you publish a website. Now, whenever you would like to publish a website, you need to go into a couple of steps. Step 1 of publishing a website is getting a domain name. For example, if I would like to publish a website, I will just get this domain name, ict.com. Once I pay the provider for this domain name, the provider will provide me with the login information. Meaning the provider will give me a username and password to this domain name, so I can now start uploading my website content. Okay, this is step number 2. Now to upload my website content, I will just use what we call it a file transfer applications to make it easier to synchronize my files, FTP, and we always compare it with the iCloud or any kind of cloud that you use. So any file I have it locally in my computer, the server will have a copy. For example, if I add any images to my computer website folder, automatically those images will be uploaded and synchronized in my ict.com domain. Even if I change one of my images name, the change automatically, not manually, will be changed in there. So it's an easier way to synchronize whatever you have local in your website folder with whatever now online. You get the point, yes? So the steps needed are getting domain name, getting the login information, using an applications to upload your files, yes? And of course all files must be in the same folder or root folder or the main folder, so that everything, all the links will be relative linking, means related to this root or website folder. These are the steps needed to publish a website. Okay. Explain how to upload and publish using an FTP. That means you need to get an FTP application, use your domain name, username, password to log in to your website via the FTP application. Start synchronizing your local website folder with the domain name server or computer, برضو via the FTP application. Okay, simple. Next, testing a web page elements that the web pages work, and this is what we call it a testing plan, because you need to have some kind of a testing plan, and a testing plan can be defined into two. Yes, testing, generally speaking, is divided into two. alpha testing or website or user testing, and functional testing. Okay, testing type, alpha slash user testing, and the other one is functional testing. Alpha and user testing means that whenever you finish designing your web page, you will give it to one of your roommate, colleagues, friends, or one of your staff to test it and to feedback. Look at the website, look at the navigation, look how it looks, how the style sheet, how everything is organized by you, and provide some feedback for you. Functional testing is whenever you would like to test how the website content function. For example, functional testing can be divided into whether hyperlink works. If you have an email hyperlink, does it goes to the correct email address with the correct subject? If you have an anchor, does it goes to the, can you click on a specific text and it will take you to that anchor? If you have a page hyperlink, if you click, will you go to the correct page URL? You get the point. So you are testing the functions and everything, or all the elements within the website. Test that web page elements works. I just explained it. Everything is good. Style sheet are attached correctly. Number of pages, hyperlinks works, email hyperlink works, anchor hyperlinks works, and pages hyperlink works, and everything that you are adding or all the navigations work perfectly. Test navigation within or from a web page. Again, using a test plan. That means in your test plan you will mention that what kind of navigation aid you have. Whether you have email hyperlink, then you need to test it, make sure it goes to the correct email. You have a page hyperlink, you test it and make sure that it goes to the correct page. And the same for anchors. If you have a couple of anchors, you will test that those anchors works and they are linked with a specific text, yes, or an image. So testing a website, you need to create a test plan to know what you should test. You should make sure that whenever you are testing that the web page elements are visible, the navigation within the page is okay, and you need to justify the choice. For example, if you mention that you would like to test hyperlink, you need to justify that I'm testing it to make sure that they go to the correct addresses or locations or emails. You get the point, and this is the end of chapter 21, which is the web authoring chapter. I hope this is an informative for you, and I advise you always to get back to this video before paper 3 exam and before paper 1 exam in your ICT. Thank you very much, and see you later.